Saturday, February 29th, 2020. And as you can probably hear already, I am losing my voice for some reason. But I will do the best I can. What you're looking at here is the row cover broke and blew off. And my lettuce is looking pretty wilted. And I hope that it'll be okay, but I'm going to have to fix this. Taking a look at the pea bed. Nothing's coming up yet. But that really doesn't surprise me because it has been pretty cold at night lately. It got down to 19 last night, which I wasn't really expecting. I did see where something had dug up a couple of my pea seeds. So I hope there's still something left in there to grow and that these birds and squirrels have not eaten them all. And the garlic, which still looks pretty good despite having been frozen yet again. I think it may not bulb until it actually warms up and stays warmer at night, but for right now it's holding its own. Yeah, some of that lettuce looks pretty good and some of it not so much. See, my Brussels sprout over there is very wilted. Okay, I got the row cover put back down. I am supposed to be getting my cattle panels and T-posts and PVC so that I can repair and improve this actually later today, but there's a big hole. It looks like it's snagged on this in the wind and it tore it, so I should have done a better job of tying down those ends, but I did plan for it just to be temporary, so I guess it did its job. The Brussels sprouts under here that did not get exposed actually look pretty solid. So I'm hoping this last freeze didn't do them too much damage. Tomorrow is supposed to be much warmer. And one of the things that I want to do is get out here and trim off all these dead bits on the catnip. You can see it's starting to come back out already. I'm not sure why some of it's purple, but probably because it's been frozen a few times. And here's the mint. That was barely 3 little plants last spring. The begonias and the coleus are coming back out again after I've cut them several times. And ginger isn't above the ground yet. There's the poor little pepper plant that the cat was gnawing on. There's the chili pepper plant, which actually had a bloom, and I shook it and it has a teeny tiny pepper on it, but whether that'll grow big enough to eat is yet to be seen. There are the begonia cuttings. That begonia and coleus plant is the gift that keeps on giving. Here's the sweet basil and the cinnamon basil, which are looking pretty strong. I may have planted that cinnamon basil too early because we still have 62 days until the last frost date. Sweet potato slips. Sweet potatoes that already grew roots. Cranky old cat. My Bertha cactus is growing up to the ceiling practically. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with her if she gets much taller. She's still got about a foot of room there. I'm going to do a quick update on the mini greenhouse. I was going to do this earlier today, but my parents came by and brought me something which I will show you tomorrow. It's for the garden, of course, and then we went to lunch with them and of course had to visit, and the day kind of got away from me and now it's dark outside, so tomorrow is supposed to be much warmer and I'm going to get out there and get some work done. That is the thyme and chives. The celery, which still isn't doing much. I have a few gourd sprouts in here and the cabbage. And and the chard back there, which is getting a little bigger. And you may or may not see a few fungus gnats flying around in there. I've done my best to get rid of them, but I am still working on that. I have been putting boiling water in the seed starting mix, though. There's more lettuce. The marigolds are starting to sprout. And I have some hollyhocks back there in the back. Hollyhocks are one of those flowers that we used to have when I was a kid, and I've always loved them. The peppers, growing slowly but steadily. Starting to get true leaves now, some of them. This is a tray of microgreens that I harvested, all of them, and then I replanted them, and by the end of that day, after I replanted them in the morning, they were already starting to sprout. Loofah gourds. And here's the tansy that I planted, even though I don't really know what it is. I did some reading on it, and it is a type of herb that is used for insect repellent and something else that I forgot. But it's not edible. It's more like a flower. Just a pretty flower that will repel insects. Oh, and it also makes dye. The tomatoes that I planted the other day are starting to come up. Got a few little sprouts in there. The beets are looking tremendous. I've potted up some of the gourds. They're looking nice and big. And cabbage and kohlrabi. So things are progressing, and spring is getting closer and closer every day. Tomorrow's March 1st, and I have a lot to do out there. Linda here on Sunday, March 1st. I have so much to do, and as you can tell, I have a cold. So I'm going to do as much as I can with the energy that I have and try to stop being so annoyed about it, because I don't get sick very often, and when I do, I'm not very pleased. Anyway, I want to show you some of the things that happened yesterday. I was gifted this mole trap, and I'm hoping that it will help me get those critters out of the garden. I know there's at least one down there. Well, I've got some seeds I need to start indoors also today, but I've got radishes and turnips, rutabagas, and I'm just kind of gonna broadcast everything, just mix it together and broadcast it, since I'll be able to harvest these radishes hopefully in about 2.5, 3 weeks. So I don't really care where they grow. I think they'll be out of there in plenty of time for things to get moving along. Hope I don't run out of energy, but I'm just going to take my time, and today slow and steady will be the best method, I think. So let's see what we get done. Alright, so this bed is going to be carrots, cress. I did start some cress indoors, but it's not doing very well, so it may be one of those plants that prefers to be planted outside. I have to start basil inside later, and the kohlrabi will go here. I have 2 different kinds. I'm also going to need to replant my single seed for the challenge, because the one I planted did not sprout, and I've got some endive that's also going to go in here. This is the seed tape that I made. It's just the seeds glued on with the little flour and water mixture, toilet paper folded over, and I'm going to put those in a row out here. I've done it for the cress and for the carrots also. Although I may broadcast some carrot seeds too. Just kind of cover the whole thing. Let's do this first. As As you might have noticed in my last video, we have a lot of birds, and they are extremely noisy. And we are supposed to get rain tomorrow, so these guys should get a good watering. This was a pretty interesting little crafty project because I'd never used seed tape before. But when I started learning about it, it sounded like a really good idea as far as keeping the seeds evenly spaced and all that. And even though parsnips are a root vegetable and I could just broadcast them like I did the others, I thought I would try it this way and see what happens. If it should turn out that these seed tapes work better, then next winter I'll have a project that I can do when I'm stuck inside and it's cold and rainy and nothing's happening out here. But for right now, even as crummy as I feel today, I'm still super excited that spring is on its way. Just gonna sprinkle some carrot seeds in here. These are the Scarlet Nantes carrots. And I'm going to plant the second variety of carrots down in the other bed so that I can tell which are which and see which one does better. And if all goes to plan, we should see some sprouts by the end of this week. That'd be awesome. Now to figure out where the rest of these go, I'm going to have to go back and look at my garden plan again. Okay, in this bed I'm going to put the kohlrabi and the other variety of carrots, which is called Romance. And then I'm going to check on my lettuce and my Brussels sprouts underneath there. We're not supposed to get a freeze again until Saturday night, so hopefully these guys will be growing well through the week and they'll be even stronger and sturdier for when that next freeze comes. But for right now, I'm going to get these seeds in the ground. I'm going to rake everything in and then check on my little bubs over here. And then I'm going to go in and make myself a cup of tea. The lettuce may be looking a little worse for wear because it got so cold, but I think they'll be all right. And the Brussels sprouts. At this point, the row cover is not so much to keep them warm as it is to keep the bugs off. I have been seeing flies out here today, and I saw the first honeybees, so that was pretty exciting. Oh, and I'll show you something else before I go inside. The hyacinths are coming up. These are a really pretty blue, and I am super excited to see those because that means spring is very, very close. They're kind of tucked in back here among the bamboo. Here's another clump of early spring flowers and a lovely little dandelion. Well, I got the mud knocked off my shoes. Got a few onions growing in there. I still have not gotten that catnip trimmed up or the mint, but I think those are going to have to wait just a little while. Maybe this afternoon, if I feel better, I'll come out and work on those. It's not crucial at this point. They are growing and they'll be fine. It's just a matter of how pretty they look. I also sprinkled some black-eyed Susan seeds along the fence back there. I want to bring in more pollinators this year because last year we didn't have very many honeybees at all. That was kind of worrisome. So flowers on the fence on both sides of the shed, they should bring in some bees anyway, or butterflies. That would be great until the vegetable plants really get going and start blooming well. And the more bees you have, the better off you are. So we definitely want to be better off with our food supply. So I think that's it for today. I'm going to go inside, make myself a cup of tea, rest my throat, Try not to cough. I haven't been sick in so long. I'm really having a hard time with this. I am so tired right now. But I know it'll pass, and I'll be back to my old self pretty soon. I hope everybody is having a good day and that your health is good, and I will see you soon for the next installment. This is Linda from my Quirky Quarter Acre saying see you later and blessings. Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020. I still have a cold, as you can hear. And last night we had a really big storm come through here. We are about an hour north of Nashville, and I'm sure y'all probably heard about the tornadoes down there. I have heard from family who are there, and they are all okay. And of course, my heart goes out to everybody that suffered damage, physical harm, and of course the families of those who were killed. It was pretty wild here, and as far as I know, we didn't have any tornadoes. But this area here was just running with water. It looked like a river down through here. And we still got standing water back there in the field. I would imagine that the creek down there was over its banks. So I'm going to go and check out the garden this morning and see if anything got washed away. I just planted a bunch of seeds just a couple of days ago, and I got my kohlrabi over there on that side of this bed. I have no idea. It looks like it stayed put pretty well, all things considered. And surprisingly, the clothespins stayed on the row cover. That's really amazing, because I figured that would have just blown away and been gone, honestly. Got standing water here in my trench around the pea bed. I did try to raise up that soil a little bit so that the pea bed would be defined, and also for some good drainage. I guess it worked. I've got standing water right here. I realized after I'd been working on this part down here so much, there's some bamboo that got cut down and it's thrown out to dry. But I was working on building up this down here so that the soil would be better, because not much grew back there last year. I guess I built it up so much that I kind of created a little flat space here where this water's collecting, so I'm going to have to figure out what to do about that. And we'll go check that rain gauge in a minute. Here's the pea bed and the spinach. Looks like some of my seeds got washed out of the ground, but they're sprouts. I guess I'll just leave them. If I poke them back down in there, it might break the sprout, and I don't want to do that either. Here's the bed where I planted all the other things, all the root veggies the other day. I don't see anything in there sprouting. It's probably good, because they would have gotten a pounding had they come up already. There's nothing in that rain gauge. That's really strange. Maybe it's not level? Huh. I know we got at least an inch last night. And it was pouring buckets. So that's interesting. I'll have to maybe reposition this. This might be a better rain gauge than the rain gauge. Look at all that. Hyacinths came through fine. I considered digging these up and moving them to some place where they'd be a little more visible, but then again, I kind of like having them back here in this location. It encourages me to walk around the place a little more, and it's kind of a hidden joy. Pretty soggy up here too. This is where I took out that soil. And I found a mow tunnel in here, so I guess that's where the mole trap is going to go. It's fairly warm out here this morning, so I didn't bring my jacket, but it is still pretty windy. I don't know whether we're set to get more thunderstorms or not, but rain is in the forecast for today. And you can see behind me the sky there is pretty gray. So I'm going to go check the other things just to make sure there's no damage or anything from last night. Lavender came through just fine. The birds have been stopping by regularly for munching down. Rosebush looks fine. These buds off the trees just blew all over the porch. This rose has got new growth. It's pretty nice. This one looks fantastic. These are green. Even though they don't have a lot of leaves yet, they look like they survived the winter all right. The sage is just bouncing back wonderfully. I'm sorry, that's Miss Rosemary. This is Miss Sage, and she's going to bounce back and do fine. Here's a definite sign of spring, y'all. Flowers coming up. It's pretty squishy down through here. I want to put my melons down here because I know they need a lot of water, but I'm hoping it won't be too much water. Since this is a year of discovery, I guess we'll find out. I forgot to tell y'all about my pawpaw tree. They brought that Saturday when they brought the cattle panels and the PVC pipe, and I gotta get that baby in the ground. Pretty excited about it too. Wednesday, March 4th, and these guys accidentally got left outside overnight. Thought I'd brought everything in, but I hadn't. I set these down beside the door while I opened the door and carried something else in, and these guys stayed outside all night, but they survived just fine. It did not get too cold, and you can see these that were planted so long ago as the test seeds and sprouted a month later are really getting long. And these are the large swan gourds, which are intriguing. I don't know how they're going to do, but they are interesting in the pictures, so I hope they produce something because they're just really cool looking. I do still have this cold, and last night was pretty rough, but I feel a little better this morning. My voice is still scratchy, but I think I'm on the upside now and getting better. Trying to avoid contact with people. I don't want anybody to worry because, you know, this whole virus thing is going on now, and I'm not concerned that this is that, but people might be concerned if they hear me coughing, so I've been working on that. Lots of hot tea, lemon, ginger, honey, and just trying to rest as much as I can. I need to rest up because this weekend I've got to mess with these, get my cattle panel put up for those peas over there. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up or not, but there are some tiny sprouts there. And I have to get the beets out here pretty soon. It's really kind of funny that I planted all those onions because these are all wild onions right here. They're pretty strong. I don't really like to eat them, but in a pinch I could, and I wonder, thinking about maybe experimenting with like chopping those up and maybe dehydrating them and see how they work. I don't know. I'll think on it. It's a beautiful, warm, sunny morning, Wednesday, and I'm going to wrap up this week's updates. If you feel so inclined, give me a like and subscribe, and I will see y'all next week. Blessings. Thanks for watching.